great admirer of UVU's sort of leadership in terms of sustainable mountain development. You know, at this university, they've really been a champion for an important issue that's not getting very much attention. And there are many other institutions out there, and UVU is somehow being a real flag bearer for this, which I think is incredibly important. I think that this is very important in the U.S. to be drawing greater attention to mountain issues. I think we need to be more aware of mountains as a real topic that needs attention, both from an environmental, development, social, and economic perspective, spanning all of that, which adds up to sustainable mountain development. I think, firstly, Mountain Day, which is sort of globally recognized by the United Nations and many countries as an important event, to a moment in which to recognize each year the importance of mountains and what they provide us: water, environmental services, recreation, minerals, a wide range of other benefits, that they're important and that they need a day in which people think about mountains. I also think, looking forward, that this is a developing platform with tremendous potential to bring mountain issues more generally to bear in the United States, and to really build a community of mountain lovers, mountain scientists, mountain builders, mountain developers, coming together around a common vision for the sustainable mountain development of this very important resource. I think the Utah Valley University has provided a lot of impetus to this, efforts of the students, of the professors here. I think we need to expand this whole movement in the United States. And I think UVU can play a major role in helping make that happen. I think the being a sort of a data repository, one idea which is being put out there, having students sort of support the network, I think it's very important. I think at the end of the day, we need to build a much larger community that can effectively work together to address mountain issues, draw attention to them on a political level, but also promote the right kinds of uses of mountain systems. So I think there's lots to do, but I think we're beginning to put together a platform, a network upon which we can all build together.
We have actually a wonderful history with UVU. I think parallel to Dr. Abdrizayov and the efforts of UVU, the Aspen International Mountain Foundation had been working for many, many years on sustainable mountain development. And we merged some years ago at the first Women of the Mountains conference, and we found that Dr. Abdrizayov and his students and the university were concerned about some of the same issues, and were also members of the Mountain Partnership. So we just recently had the 4th Global Mountain Summit in Turkey, and the Aspen International Mountain Foundation was elected to be the representative for North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. This wasn't, it didn't happen without the support of UVU. It was a collaborative effort, it was a conscious effort, and our hope is that we can create a strong and vital North American collaboration with our organization, with the Telluride Institute, which is our partner, and with UVU and all the other wonderful members of the Mountain Partnership. And now we've been tasked with Central America and the Caribbean, and so that's going to be another challenge to bring all of those partners together to work on the goals of the International Mountain Partnership.
And this is my first time participating at an event here at UVU, and I'm extraordinarily impressed at the programs they've had in place for a number of years. It sounds like a decade. And I think that the establishment of Vertex as an initiative to connect mountain communities and stakeholders, this is a great example of that type of collaboration, and we can learn a lot. The organization and the program can learn a lot from the work that has been done here by the university and by the students.
I think what brings us all together is this absolute passion for the mountains. We in Colorado, everyone here in Utah, we are mountain people, and we many of us have traveled to other mountainous regions around the world. We have Dr. Abdrizayov from Kyrgyzstan, and we all care about the mountains, but even more than that, we understand the importance of mountains, and we understand that really the life force of the world is coming from the mountains. 60% of the world's fresh water comes from mountains. There are cultures that are eons that are in danger, that we are all concerned about, and fragile ecosystems. But I think there's a shared love and understanding and deep empathy for mountains that brings us together.
I would just say that the connection to developing parts of the world, especially Kyrgyzstan, is a relationship of reciprocity, and it is just absolutely amazing to hear the work that has been done in that part of the world and how we can use some of those learnings here in our region, in North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. I was a Russian East European Studies major, so I'm just fascinated by the just level of work and dedication that has gone in to these relationships. And so, again, I just thank them for hosting such a wonderful event.
Well, I have two goals. One is to do a memorial for my wife, Jane Pratt, who passed away and founded the Mountain Institute and did such a tremendous job in promoting it. And my goal now is to continue actively promoting more sustainable care of mountains and management of mountains, because they're not only important to keep themselves and maintain the biodiversity, but they're the source of water for half the people on the earth. And to maintain sustainability downstream, we need to protect the mountains and manage them properly. So providing sustainable mountains is necessary to make sure the rest of the world is also able to develop sustainably. The Mountain Institute focuses on protecting the biodiversity in mountainous areas and the ecosystems, which are very important to assure not only the water management, but soil fertility downstream and the continued existence of species that are very important for the successful continuation of agriculture and other things, and to protect and help people who live in mountains so they can preserve their culture, maintain their incomes, improve their incomes, and stay where they want to be and are not forced to go down if they don't want to. I think the important thing with this program and others is getting the message out to a broad number of people and decision makers, policy makers, so they can support the necessary policy changes to protect the mountains, but also to work directly with people living in mountains to find ways of achieving the goals. And the Mountain Institute has done projects in many countries and mountains around the world that have helped improve the livelihoods of people in those countries while protecting and improving the environment. They've been able to institute programs to reduce the likelihood of the flooding that comes from the glacial lakes that might happen due to the warming and glacial melts and things like that, and protecting mountain systems from the debris and the pollution from mining and other things that occur in mountains. So it's both from the top down, getting broad support for the right policies, and from the bottom up, helping the people on the ground up in the mountains obtain better living standards and be rewarded for protecting the ecosystems in the mountains. One important thing I emphasize from my work with the Millennium Institute is it's very critical for people to take account of the interactions between the economic, social, and environmental factors, because they do interrelate in the real world, and we very often don't take account of those relations when we're thinking about policies and things like that. So it's very important to get more people to take an integrated approach, and in doing that, they learn from each other about what's going on in these other areas. And related to that is the importance of taking a longer-term view, because we typically look out a few months or a few years ahead of time, and so many of these environmental changes take place over decades. And if we don't take the necessary precautionary action today, it's going to be much harder in 10 years to prevent something from happening. So that we need to take a longer term view and be willing to make some adjustments now, and in order to prevent serious problems later.
The most important accomplishments, in my estimation, have been the Women of the Mountains conferences. We held the first one in 2007, which involved approximately 110 women from 22 separate nations. These were very strong leaders, sometimes government ministers, members of parliament, and that type of woman that was here on campus. We discussed a number of issues relating to mountain development, the traditional family, economics, health, education, human trafficking, and other topics that were of interest to these women. We held another conference similar to that in 2011, and then followed up in 2012 with a conference similar to that in Puno, Peru, Women of the Mountains Conference. That eventually led to, from Peru to Rio Plus 20, where we made a presentation. Those have been the most outstanding accomplishments because they've brought in many people from the Rocky Mountain states of the United States, as well as people from other countries in the world. We continue to look at those types of programs. We have been heavily engaged with student programs where we have actually taken students abroad or to other parts of the United States to present papers or to speak, including Johns Hopkins University into Kyrgyzstan, a student group going to Turkey recently in 2012, and 2013, I'm sorry. So we believe strongly in student engagement, and that's why we have engaged the students at the high school level to write essays explaining what sustainable mountain development means to them. And this has been a very successful program because the teachers, the principals, the parents have bought into it. And it is preparing an entirely new generation now to go forward with this type of work. For the future, we intend to hold another Women of the Mountains Conference in 2015 in Utah. And hopefully in 2 years later, we want to move it abroad, as we did in Peru. We want to continue to engage students in this work in a very meaningful and proactive way, not just as a token or as a symbol, but actually have them become very heavily involved in sustainable mountain development and all of the pieces of sustainable mountain development. We focus considerable attention on gender issues, gender equality and gender problems dealing with women and families who are oftentimes disproportionately impacted by the problems that developing nations and developing cultures encounter. Other future projects will be to, I think, expand our outreach into the community, our outreach into the high schools, into the middle schools even perhaps, and to prepare another generation at a much younger age than what we're doing right now. And all of this will be for the good of our global community, we believe.
Our organization has been working with UVU for several years, thanks to Professor Abdrasayev, who we met before he was even here, when he was still the ambassador, and who's kept in touch with us. Our goal is to actually coordinate the activities of the Mountain Partnership members in this region more closely and be more effective. And UVU has been a great catalyst for bringing us all together. And we're hoping that today we'll be able to take the next step and plan an action plan. Be inspired by the speakers and plan an action plan for 2014. I think I have a couple of specific hopes. One of them is to coordinate more around mountain issues and sustainable development with the Rocky Mountain states. We're surprisingly isolated. I'm from Wyoming. There's very little going on that connects Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, and Montana, surprisingly enough. You know, you'd think we would be working together on a consistent basis, but we really aren't. And I think the Mountain Partnership has potential to actually pull us all together and coordinate some key activities around mountain issues and sustainable development that would link all of our states together. So that's one of my goals. And the other is I just think it's very eye-opening for people in our region to be involved with the UN and to be directly, actively participating with the UN. UVU has done an impressive job of getting students involved in this international activism, I call it. But a lot of the people in our communities are not necessarily involved on an international level. We live in our little valleys. That's what mountain people are like. And so I think that this is an important catalyst for getting our mountain communities involved on an international level and more aware of what we have in common with people around the world.
My overall goal is, like with any organization that I work with, is unless the agenda items that they're talking about are action-oriented, then I ask my question, why did I come to the meeting? If I can't go away with one item that I can latch onto and do something about, then the question is, why did I come to the meeting? But with what I see here, it's the organization and the mountain activities haven't been organized too long. So in a sense, I kind of look at it as a grassroots organization that's trying to get up and going. And the way you do that is you bring in people with varied backgrounds to share their experiences of what works and what doesn't work and move in that direction. The key thing to any program is you need to have a activity that everyone's going to focus on, be it the development of a new project and a new initiative that you're going to reach out to the community and so on. Without that, you don't have a leg to stand on. And as you look at the United Nations agenda for the year 2015 and over what they've developed so far here at Utah Valley University of Utah, they need to become a little more action-oriented, to identify some specific programs where there's a critical need that's not being met.
My goal here is to, just as today is occurring, just the networking. This is an amazing group of people gathered here. And I think the global scope is probably the most remarkable thing that I've been noticing today. I was really impressed with the Mountain Institute team and their work. I think Senator Valentine was really impressive. I hadn't realized how accomplished he was. I think, I know Carino from Aspen, and I guess in order to, propagate the Mountain Partnership, development goals, if you will, is going to require having your local constituency and then, a national program, but having, a global reach. And certainly this group gathered is well along the way in that way. I came here and this morning was able to share a video produced by a company out of Canada. I believe it's Après 4 Productions. I know them because they're focused on Ryan Kupal's kind of a ski mountaineering ecotourism operation in Kyrgyzstan called 40 Tribes. And it's a yurt-based ski trip. And they had a couple North Face athletes from Canada went there and documented a trip, and it came out beautifully. And I thought that it would be appropriate to share here. So we showed that this morning. With my project, I'm touring throughout North America with film premiere tours that are multimedia. So we will show a number of short films as well as a ski film out of Norway called Supervention. And then my band will play afterwards as well. And we're doing events at everything from snowcat lodges in British Columbia to ski resorts in Taos to heli ski lodges in Alaska. So it's kind of a cool mountain audience all along the way, and then we get out and do some touring and filming as we kind of follow the powder highway for the season. The piece that I'm showing tonight is actually kind of a piece I produced. I shot some video in Alaska this season, and I also have been in touch with Noel's Expedition Denali. They were a predominantly African-American climbing group on Denali this summer, and they showed some video from that project as I'd been in touch with them for a larger piece I'm working on. And it also features Dr. Warren Washington, who's a chief scientist at NCAR and UCAR in Boulder, also a glaciologist named Shad O'Neill at Anchorage at the USGS. And then Ryan Hudson, he's actually a local professional snowboarder, North Face ambassador, who was on Denali this summer with Conrad Anchor and a whole team of professional snowboarder mountaineers. And Ryan's story is pretty amazing. He's a North Face ambassador and African-American professional snowboarder, and features him up there as well. So it's kind of discussing diversity in climate science and in glacier mountain environments. And my larger project with Rise in Media is to showcase not only that, but you'll see renewable energy, whether it be wind or geothermal energy, along with celebrating these glacier environments, but also learning from the scientists, whether it be glaciologists or atmospheric scientists, talking about what is happening on the ground with their research in these locations.